Hi, you guys. Okay, I want to talk about this loophole that LA County and LA City is using to seize organs from women to create children, and they hide everything in Utah through Intermountain Agency and the LDS Church. So, illegal search and seizure is when law enforcement officers are entrusted with the power to conduct investigations, make arrests, perform searches, and seizures of persons. And they occasionally use lethal force, but this power must be exercised within the boundaries of the law. So they're not exercising the boundaries because what they're doing is they're using this other law, the congressional drug law, under 881. Forfeitures, content details. So they're using this law, and they're basically saying, this one's not showing it. This is where I was showing the innocent owner defense. Okay. So under Title 21, remember 21 Jump Street, Food and Drugs, Chapter Drug Abuse Prevention and Control, the following shall be subject to forfeiture to the United States, and no property right shall exist in them, all controlled substances which have been manufactured, distributed, dispensed, or acquired. All raw materials, including organs, products, and equipment of any kind which are used or intended for use. So that's also your person. All property which is used or intended for use as a container for the property. All conveyances, including aircraft, vehicles, or vessels, pleasure vessels that allow rape of children. It's crazy, but that is what these laws are doing. All books, records, and research, including formulas, microfilm, tape, and data, which are used or intended for use in violation of this chapter. All monies, negotiable instruments, all real property. Here it is, including any right, title, and interest of any tract of land to commit or facilitate the commission or violation of this subchapter. So what they're doing is they're organizing through Kenji Inaba, who works for USC, that they're going to seize your organs through this USC iStar, which I showed you. So I show it to you again. See if I can find it. iStar, where they're getting a facial a waiver of consent to facial trauma, and they're calling it a research protocol or study, and they're saying they're going to hurt the person's spine and face. And Kenji Inaba is also a officer of the LAPD. He's a reserve officer. So what he does is he takes out the permit, or somebody else takes out the permit. He's a sworn police officer and the chief surgeon for the LAPD. So he's the one that seizes the property by taking out the permit. I don't know if he has to be there or not. But what they're doing is they're using this complex law, and then the only thing you have is the innocent owner defense. But I think if they're taking your ovaries to make in vitro children to enslave and sexually traffic, as I was enslaved and sexually trafficked, that is the buying and selling of children, because in vitro can be used for human experiments, rape, and torture. Under the law, it says they can use them any way they want to. But you would have to prove why do you have a bloodline that's attached to your cousins who are citizens in America if you were created in vitro? I mean, it could be that your parents sold, you as property before. I mean, I don't know. Okay, so here is the loophole. The only loophole you can fight is U.S. Code 983 General Rules, except as provided in clauses 2 through V in any non-judicial civil forfeiture under a civil forfeiture with respect to which the government is required to send written notice. So there's something about this. I don't know. No notice is required if before the 60-day period expires, the government files a civil judicial forfeiture action against the property and provides notice of that action as required of law. So they're not informing the owner because the owner is somebody named Ron Carlson who poses as your advisor at school. That is the true owner of you as real property, as a thoroughbred or a mixed breed or whatever under horse law. Okay, so in a case in which property is seized by a state or local law enforcement agency and turned over to federal law enforcement for the purpose of forfeiture, it still says notice shall be sent. If the identity or interest of a party is not determined until after the seizure or turnover, but is determined before the declaration of forfeiture, notice shall be sent to such interested parties. But if you're owned by somebody named Ron Carlson at UCI who's pretending to be an advisor and actually goes under a different name, who's owning thoroughbred horses bearing your name, and arrested repeatedly for intent to cause intentional bodily injury, it becomes very complex. It says, upon a motion by the government, they still have to notify you. The period for sending notice under this paragraph may be extended only if there is reason to believe the notice may have an adverse result, including endangering the life or physical safety. So they'll just claim that this is otherwise seriously jeopardizing an investigation. Each of the federal seizing agencies conducting non-judicial forfeitures under the section shall report periodically to the committees. If the government does not send notice of a seizure of property in accordance with subparagraph A to the person from whom the property was seized, and no extension of time is granted, the government shall return the property to that person without prejudice to the right of the government to commence a forfeiture proceeding in a later time. The government shall not be required to return contraband or other property that the person from whom the property was seized may not legally possess. Well, you should be able to legally possess your own genetic materials that are making children to be sexually trafficked and harvested and treated as if they're a slave. You should have that legal right as the true mother of those people. Any person claiming property seized in a non-judicial civil forfeiture proceeding may file a claim with the appropriate official after the seizure, but we don't know who the official is, except it's Kenji Inaba. I'm telling you it is. Any claim under subparagraph A may be filed not later than the deadline, which deadline might be earlier than 35 days after the date the letter is mailed. But because of the other, so a claim shall identify the specific property. So you have to say, you took my ovaries and eggs with intent to make slaves, and I want my property back, contained within those legal parameters. My interest is that those children do not get raped and tortured as I was raped and tortured. And then, you say all of this. And you don't have to say it in any particular form. but they're not notifying the people claiming that that would cause, you know, whatever. So there's supplemental rules for certain admiralty and maritime claims, except that a court in the district in which the complaint will be filed may extend the period for filing a complaint for good cause shown, or upon agreement of the parties. But you're not considered a party because they've stripped you of your name in that first document I showed you. And remember, this one says they're going to hurt you. Kenji Naba has the legal right to hurt you. And these are, you know, Bronco and all of these people are there. And then they say it is not for your best interest what they're doing. They're doing it for another interest. The interest is the sale and exploitation of children. Research involving materials that have been collected or will be collected solely for non-research purposes. No, that's a lie. They're using the children they create in vitro for experimentation and rape. You guys, this is crazy that they're allowed to do this by law. I was going to show you something, but I'm going to show you this instead because I just kept going and I just want to show you. PRIN 1802 654 in regarding conservatorship of Maryland lot. Remember, they're calling people lots. Probate, reciprocal investigation, Palm Springs, relationship status, County of Solana, Linda Pache, no relationship, conservator of Alex Chen, Maryland lot, conservatee. All right. These documents are so, I mean, there's so many of them. So let's see what this one is. This one says eligible for removal. Okay, estate of Alma Hazel Carlin. Eligible for removal from citizenship. Eligible for removal from citizenship so they can do harm to the person. So Alma Hazel, aka Hazel Carlin, Alma Hazel Colbert, Alma Hazel Jensen. Eligible for removal. RIP 093 019, and these all go to AEI. Again, we got Susan Burns, no relationship. Easel Lloyd Walters, but if you say this backwards, it's lice, right? Or lease, you know. So Easel Lloyd Walters, reciprocal investigation, historic. So they're abusing children, you guys. They're taking away their legal rights. Let's see what this one is. Here we go. Confidential filing. Copy of confidential court investigator's pre-appointment report. This is right before my ovaries and everything was taken out at Dr. Eon's. Ex parte ordering authorizing disclosure of proposed conservatee's health information to court investigator against as to Marilyn Lott, which I believe to be a made-up name. Order appointing court investigator. Work queue location has been updated from Null to Larson Justice Center. So you can look up wherever that is. Case assigned to probate investigator Denise Brown. Ex parte order disclosure of proposed conservatee's health information. I mean, come on. Confidential conservatorship medical information. Confidential filing. Why? Because they're stealing your eggs, you guys. They're stealing your eggs. And when you look up who Linda Marie Pace is, it's Texas State Historical Association. Entrepreneur, was born the first of two children. I mean, come on. Who is this person? And why is she in Texas when this filing is in Palm Springs? I mean, it's a very good question. There's a tracking incident number, filing offense of sexual assault on a child. And when you look up these tracking incidents and internal case numbers, it goes to Texas Judicial. But guess what? We can't sue Texas or California for these crimes. This again is attached to David or Daniel Wayne Michel, which is